And this is my first view of the Waymos. These are going to be, it looks like these are on the north side of the 101 freeway on Los Angeles Street. And from our other angle, from our other Air 7, we were seeing that one of them was actually on fire. I don't see flames at, I do see the flames further to the right, but we're going to hold on this shot right now because we can see one individual breaking windows on those Waymos, and there's that other Waymo that's on fire. And all three of these, I think I counted 4, have been completely hit by graffiti, a lot of paint, a lot of words and statements being placed on these Waymos. And this is quite an interesting scene, something that you wouldn't see maybe in the riots of 2020 and before that, because we didn't have these automated vehicles that are kind of easy to corner and easy to stop, and protesters appear to be taking advantage of that and using these automated vehicles as maybe billboards for their message. And unknown what, you know, the Waymo's response to this is going to be. Do they just kind of shut down and stay put? Obviously, when they're set on fire, they're probably going to be you know, completely destroyed.
Yeah.
But these are owned by a company. They're not owned by a specific individual. So at least, you know, it's not a sole individual that is now at a loss for a vehicle. You have these corporate vehicles that are probably insured, so that's at least one bit of good news. But this is obviously not anything we like to see. We don't want to see things burning in the streets. We don't want to see all these acts of vandalism that we're seeing now taking place on the Chinatown side of the 101 freeway. And we're seeing a lot of these protesters move northbound on Los Angeles Street. I'm not sure if that was from the activity that we saw a little bit closer to Temple and Los Angeles Street, where those mounted officers from LAPD kind of clashed a few minutes ago. I'm not sure if that's what's spurring some of these protesters to continue northbound on Los Angeles Street, or if they're just kind of moving forward of their own will. This collection of Waymo vehicles, I think this must have happened in the last 20 minutes or so, because I had eyes on this section of street before Mayor Bass started talking, and this was not here. We were seeing a vehicle, I think that truck is there a little further. If Rob pans to the left, there was a truck with some people on the back of the truck, possibly speaking, making announcements, and I thought that was maybe one reason why people were continuing northbound on Los Angeles Street. But now we see these Waymos that may have just gotten, you know, these automated vehicles maybe don't know that there's a protest. They don't have that programmed into their software to be aware of that, so they probably just drove into it. And people, you know, they know that if you stand in front of it, they just stop. And people are obviously taking advantage of that right now. And you can see one person leaning on the hood, taking a selfie with that Waymo that's on fire, and a lot of messages for protesters being painted on these Waymos right now on a Sunday night.
Yeah, things devolving in some parts of downtown, and you do not want to see this happen.
And you see there some kind of dumpster, some kind of container that they were successful in being able to set ablaze. We should also point out that we watched as 5 Waymo cars. Whoa. Okay, so now we're doing donuts
in reverse
in the intersection.
In reverse, and someone throwing rocks. Okay, what's going on there? That looks very strange. Somebody. I don't know what to make of this. This seems so very dangerous. Obviously, these people throwing the rocks are not happy with that person there. I don't know if they felt this person was endangering them. This is a very bizarre scene there, and why that person would do those donuts like that in reverse. Was that person trying to send a statement? And, oh, wow.
Yeah, what's going on? He seems to be having trouble controlling that car, or he's driving erratically on purpose. I think that whomever threw rocks or whatever it was, yeah, he's having trouble controlling that car, or has decided to go past those barricades there. This is basically the Alvera Street area, the plaza.
I'm just wondering,
so not where traffic typically would go.
Susan, was this person trying to hurt or endanger those that were in the streets there?
I feel like the people in that intersection or near that intersection felt as if, yeah, that this was somebody that was...
Not one of them.
No.
Look at the way this person's driving on the sidewalk. Oh my gosh, this is very scary here. LAPD, FYI, something's going on here with this driver who is that a sidewalk he's driving on?
Well, that's a part of that plaza area of Alvera Street,
right.
not far from the Chinese Museum. And it's clearly not set up for traffic. It was at one point, but now you have all of those balustrades or whatever they're called, the barriers that keep you from driving exactly where he's driving now. And if you've ever been there in an afternoon, oftentimes there will be people that are playing music and dancing. He's going at a pretty high rate of speed.
That is way too fast on a city street where there are people and bicycles of all sorts, whether you're with these demonstrations or not. It makes me wonder who this person is and what statement they're trying to make. Are they trying to agitate the people that are out there on the streets at this hour? Look at the way that driver is driving. Is this somebody on drugs? Are they drunk? Who does that? Who drives in reverse like that in the middle of other traffic, endangering innocent people? That's a scary situation in its own right.
Oh, he's out of the car now. He's decided to abandon that vehicle. And what? He's got a hold of a dumpster trying to move it, but unsuccessful. So now he's going to get back in the car. And by the way, I think I saw some shattered glass. I think that the agitators were able to throw a piece of concrete or what have you at him. And he was able broke through the window because then he was throwing things back out again.
Look at the way that driver is driving. That is a very scary scene. It's almost like this person is a rogue person who is out of his mind. And look at the crowd.
Everybody's coming towards him because he's stuck. He's stuck there. Now he's going to do things quite illegally to get out of the way. But it's clear that he was trying to go after the agitators or whomever is left over in the downtown area. And look at that. People are throwing things at him. So apparently the sentiment was, okay, you're not with us. Therefore, you're against us.
Well, look, I mean, the guy was doing donuts in reverse. You could kill anybody like that. He's been driving, it seems to be, very erratically. It makes you wonder what the mindset is of this person. Is it someone who just lost their mind? They just don't care who they hurt. They're trying to make a statement or what? But this is something that I'm surprised that we don't have a police chopper over this one as in a pursuit of some sort, because this behavior was very, very erratic.
He was able to outrun, or thanks to the fact that he's in a vehicle and the other people are on foot, he had to get out of that traffic. So he's decided to back up, and let's see what he's going to do now. Now we're basically, I believe, in the Union Station area, going through Union Station, going through intersections or stop signs.
Going through a stop sign. Oh, he sideswiped a bicyclist. Oh, is that what happened? Is that, we're talking to our booth right now. So he sideswiped a bicyclist. That's why the crowd got agitated. But his behavior then, I would say, it wasn't necessarily just in response, because he continues to drive erratically. And not sure the mindset of this person here, but if they were an innocent person just trying to get out of the way, they're not leaving and getting out of the way in a normal fashion.
No, not at all. When he left that intersection, it was sort of interesting the way he was wobbling. I thought perhaps the car was in some way disabled, but no, that was just his way of being somewhat threatening. But he sideswiped a bicyclist. That's what got the rest of the crowd, those that were on foot outside of the vehicle, against him. Now we're in that place where Skyfox is overhead, but you got that high rise there, so it's going to be difficult to see the vehicle. I wonder if he had any idea that that he was being tracked by a news helicopter.
Again, who knows what went down, how that happened, where a bicyclist was sideswiped? Was it intentional? Did someone get in the way? And then there was a panic scene, but it was very, very bizarre behavior as that person continued to drive around the downtown LA area.
All right, we may have lost that vehicle thanks to that big tall building there, but
well, let us hope this driver either calmed down. Got out of the area, and just was not intentionally trying to hurt anybody, because that is a very scary scenario in itself.
Let me just ask the people in the booth now, did he sideswipe that bicyclist in that intersection where he was doing the backwards donuts? Was that where it happened? Because it was, So he. Okay. So it was after that, after he left the intersection where he was doing the donuts, and then he actually went through Olvera Street, or the Plaza, rather. Is that him there? That could be him. That is him. Okay, so we're back overhead.
Did we just have law enforcement right there? Did he drive right past law enforcement? We can tell that's him because there's damage to the vehicle.
The damage to the vehicle, and I believe the windows, too, were shattered when people started throwing rocks. But my point is the bicyclist got hit after he left that intersection. And how would those people know that, once you get into Chinatown and adjacent to Union Station, how would you know that this vehicle was involved in, the donut situation? But then I guess as soon as he hit that bicyclist, that was enough for pedestrians or those in the area to realize, you need to be stopped.
Is that a drone? I'm sorry, I see this white light and I'm trying to figure out what that is. It's following
Could be a drone
him?
these days.
I mean, is that a drone that's kind of keeping an eye on him? I've never seen that before. So anyway, we have this person still driving erratically here, and that is still very concerning. As we see this person, I'm guessing still in the greater downtown LA area, which makes me wonder about his mindset. Remember, he got out of the vehicle, did not seem to have a shirt on, if I have that correctly, and he was banging on that trash dumpster that people had put out into the middle of the street that are protesting, rioting, whatever.
I think he was trying to move it. Like, I don't know if he thought it could be sort of a barrier or something to affect traffic or affect people. But yeah, we're watching that vehicle. I can't tell if it's a crossover, a van, or whatever. He has been affected by some traffic now and again, and then he would just back up and turn around and like break a lot of traffic laws. But this is unusual because usually we're used to the fact that there would be a police helicopter overhead, and we talk a lot about, like, what's the want? Why are they tracking him? Why are they over him? And this is a situation where Skyfox is over this vehicle. We witness some of the erratic behavior and erratic driving, but we don't know if law enforcement is involved at all.
And again, I'm watching that white light. I have no idea what it is. It continues to be following this vehicle. It continues to be in our shot.
Yeah, it's so funny, Christine, because you see it on that monitor. I don't see it on this monitor. So it could just be the monitor.
The monitor. Okay, all right. Yeah, perhaps you're right. My bad on that. Okay.
But it is unusual.
It is a distracting monitor I'm looking at here, so forgive me if anybody else is seeing this on their monitor. It's a very strange thing. Okay, so let me avert my eyes to another monitor where we see no light here. Okay, so again, what is the mindset of this person, and is this a rogue lone person who's taking matters into their own hands to try to make a statement against those who are still out on the streets?
Exactly. That is the question. And there are definitely people that thought that he's not with them. He's not with the agitators, that he was trying to do something to distract or interrupt what they were doing. At least that's what it appeared to be. He's driving at a high rate of speed, considering he's on a surface street and made that turn to the left awful quickly. I'm missing the smart navigation so we could tell precisely where he is in the LA area. But he's going at a pretty good clip. No one's near him. Whoa, that was a little too close.
Yeah, something is not right with this driver. The behavior is way too erratic to be normal. Not sure the area that this driver is in now, but obviously we've pulled away a little bit from the downtown area specifically itself. Looks a little bit more residential here, and not sure where this driver is now headed, but we've seen some very strange behavior. And when we queue up that tape at some point in time, you'll see exactly what we're talking about doing. We've seen a lot of car scenes where they do donuts in the middle of the street, but in reverse.
Right.
That was crazy. With people around?
Like, it wouldn't have surprised me if there were people that got involved and wanted to do a street takeover, but to do it in reverse, and then clearly to not be as a part of the demonstration that's going on right now. It seemed pretty obvious that he wasn't really a part of what is going on.
They were quite upset.
He wanted to object, or, I don't think that necessarily means he's with the police chief and the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, but regardless, don't know his state of mind. It didn't seem as if he's like, I'm with you guys, because instead, protesters started to throw rocks and concrete at him. And I believe it broke the window, because then he started lobbing things back out of the car.
Is this the vehicle stopped? Like he drove home? And it's, you know, I don't know if this person got caught up. There he is right there, shirt off. Oh, please don't get back in the car.
Yeah, that's the guy that we watched try to move a dumpster unsuccessfully.
I mean, he's got a sense that there is this helicopter overhead. It's you know, it's not overly warm out tonight to be without a shirt on in LA. It does cool down at night, so that is bizarre in itself. But obviously the guy pulled over, parked the vehicle in a normal fashion, and perhaps he is out of the vehicle and he's done driving. Let that be. This is very bizarre.
It's very bizarre indeed. So now he's gone into the back. What is he doing? He's pulling out, oh, I just need to shake this shirt or jacket or something, because now I'm going to put on my jacket. Meantime, he left the driver's side door open. Oh, so he, you know, the reason why, likely, that he's shaking that out is because I'm pretty sure the window on the driver's side was broken
left
at
the
the
door,
least.
Left the door open. Oh, no, getting into another vehicle.
Oh, that's
all right,
interesting.
so I'm sensing this person has, no, they're just opening car doors. Is this their vehicle?
So he was shaking out that jacket, I believe, because it was full of shattered glass from the window. But what is that? So that car is on, and he decided to open the door and throw that jacket in. Meantime, he did leave the door open on the driver's side.
He's talking,
approaching somebody.
Oh, police.
Oh,
okay,
police are involved. They are indeed aware and involved.
Well, this is a good thing. If they were watching our coverage here on Fox 11, we had it all. So police have stopped this guy from getting behind the wheel of that second vehicle or back behind his own vehicle. Now they can question him to say, who are you and what the heck were you doing?
What were you doing? And now we have an idea of specifically where he is. Vanna Street and East First Street. So just outside the downtown Los Angeles area. It's odd. He was not very, he didn't resist arrest. He didn't seem all that surprised either that police suddenly came upon him. Meantime, the woman that he was talking to, police are saying, no, you need to back up. You need to back up. And she looks like she's objecting to all of this.
I'm not sure. Is she? No, she seems to be talking with that officer. Okay, they're back.
In the meantime, he's like, everybody's got to back up. Everybody's got to back up.
Yeah. Well,
he looks like he's a sheriff's deputy, not LAPD.
Again, it's not an overly warm night to be on the streets like that in shorts with no shirt, and that behavior, you have to wonder about that behavior. Obviously some damage to the vehicle. Talking with people on our team who actually have a better viewpoint of this, he definitely did hit a bicyclist or sideswipe a bicyclist in some fashion, hoping that person is okay. That was after that bizarre behavior of doing those donuts in reverse in the middle of an intersection there.
All right, should we go back to Matthew Seedorf and see what...
And this is my first view of the Waymos. These are going to be, it looks like these are on the north side of the 101 freeway on Los Angeles Street. And from our other angle, from our other Air 7, we were seeing that one of them was actually on fire. I don't see flames at, I do see the flames further to the right, but we're going to hold on this shot right now because we could see one individual breaking windows on those Waymos. And there's that other Waymo that's on fire. And all three of these, I think I counted 4, have been completely hit by graffiti, a lot of paint, a lot of words and statements being placed on these Waymos. And this is quite an interesting scene, something that you wouldn't see maybe in the riots of 2020 and before that, because we didn't have these automated vehicles that are kind of easy to corner and easy to stop. And protesters appear to be taking advantage of that and using these automated vehicles as maybe billboards for their message. And unknown what, you know, the Waymo's response to this is going to be. Do they just kind of shut down and stay put? Obviously, when they're set on fire, they're probably going to be you know, completely destroyed.
Yeah.
But these are owned by a company. They're not owned by a specific individual. So at least, you know, it's not a sole individual that is now at a loss for a vehicle. You have these corporate vehicles that are probably insured, so that's at least one bit of good news. But this is obviously not anything we like to see. We don't want to see things burning in the streets. We don't want to see all these acts of vandalism that we're seeing now taking place on the Chinatown side of the 101 freeway. And we're seeing a lot of these protesters move northbound on Los Angeles Street. I'm not sure if that was from the activity that we saw a little bit closer to Temple and Los Angeles Street, where those mounted officers from LAPD kind of clashed a few minutes ago. I'm not sure if that's what's spurring some of these protesters to continue northbound on Los Angeles Street, or if they're just kind of moving forward of their own will. This collection of Waymo vehicles, I think this must have happened in the last 20 minutes or so, because I had eyes on this section of street before Mayor Bass started talking, and this was not here. We were seeing a vehicle, I think that truck is there a little further. If Rob pans to the left, there was a truck with some people on the back of the truck, possibly speaking, making announcements, and I thought that was maybe one reason why people were continuing northbound on Los Angeles Street. But now we see these Waymos that may have just gotten, you know, these automated vehicles maybe don't know that there's a protest. They don't have that programmed into their software to be aware of that, so they probably just drove into it. And people, you know, they know that if you stand in front of it, they just stop. And people are obviously taking advantage of that right now. And you can see one person leaning on the hood, taking a selfie with that Waymo that's on fire, and a lot of messages for protesters being painted on these Waymos right now on a Sunday night.
Yeah, things devolving in some parts of downtown, and you do not want to see this happen.
And you see there some kind of dumpster, some kind of container that they were successful in being able to set ablaze. We should also point out that we watched as 5 Waymo cars. Whoa. Okay, so now we're doing donuts
in reverse
in the intersection.
In reverse, and
you can see some of the helicopters in the distance. Here's another group on a corner in downtown LA. More and more people have been coming out at night. This is usually the case when there's a disturbance in the streets. The people apparently feel emboldened that they can disappear back into the shadows, kind of are unseen to a certain extent, and they may feel a little safer out there when they start protesting. You can see the police on the right side of the screen there. They've got their masks on just in case any type of gas is being deployed. They're hanging back, though. We can see the night suns from some of the helicopters that are raking the streets there, trying to get a handle on exactly who is where. And we have a lot more different situations that are popping up now around the city. We had just 3 or 4 a couple of hours ago. Now the LAPD seems to have their eyes on a number of different locations, but it's nice to see the sheriff's office that is coming in and trying to shut down a few of those street corners in LA.
Yeah, it sounds like the LA County Sheriff's Department that they got the situation quieted down, where we saw our Jamie Chambers reporting from. But it certainly sounds like there were a lot more people responding. Did you guys hear all those sirens while he was going live? I mean, it definitely gives you a sort of a tense feeling inside. And just communicating with Rick Caruso, developer Rick Caruso, you know, someone who often expresses his love for this city, who's run for mayor. He is saying that, you know, he's traveling right now, but staying close to the situation, and what is happening is terrible on many levels. So he is, you know, he's been expressing his concern for people, you know, saying that, you know, a lot of these people that have come here from different countries, you know, they're part of the fabric of our city. They're out here working and working hard, and, you know, they're a large part of our community. Kai, you were talking about just how many Latinos are members of our community. Were you saying something like
more than half?
Yeah,
more than half of the population in LA County is a Latino influence culture. And, you know, pardon me, it's just, again, and Rick is right, it's heartbreaking to see what's going on in our city. And there's so many different angles to it. There's such a fine line. There's a political angle that is just huge, overshadowing the whole thing. And that is getting more and more tense by the hour. The mayor is denouncing what's going on with the Trump administration.
Here with
You've got the
Assembly
governor.
member, can you hear us? Okay, we want to bring your mic up. Give us just 1 second. it looks like we can hear you now. You know, we spoke to you yesterday as the situation was unfolding. Now we have today where I would say we have noticed that the violence really escalated today. We saw multiple fires, CHP vehicles being destroyed, as well as Waymo vehicles being lit on fire. You put out a statement a few moments ago. Can you tell us, just run down what and how you're feeling?
I live here in downtown, between downtown and Chinatown. As a resident in this area, I'm watching my streets, my community get completely destroyed by people who are here to just sabotage our community. This is not a protest. This is a sabotage, and that's what they're doing. They're feeding right into the Trump administration's hands about what they said they were going to do. These are reckless opportunists who are here to destroy our community, and they're setting us back on the progress that we need to make here as Angelenos to be peaceful. This is not peaceful. Throwing rocks at cars, on CHP officers, our law enforcement is already spread thin and have to respond to emergencies that are all needed throughout the city, but instead they have to respond to this. This is all inflamed by the Trump administration. These are anarchists who are trying to destroy the very fabric of what our community stands for. Those are not acts of resistance. Again, these are gifts of authoritarianism, and that's what we're seeing at its finest.
Well, Senator Gonzalez, I'll ask you the same thing that we asked Mayor Bass earlier. What do the next steps look like in terms of de-escalation? Because we've asked that for a lot of local representatives about how you can avoid having this be the face of what's going on right now, the image that people are going to remember. Because right now, if you see fires and you see things being thrown at law enforcement, that tends to grab the most attention. So then how, moving forward, do you de-escalate and then try to get the message toward what you want it to actually be?
Folks are following folks online on TikTok or whatever sort of social media platforms that they're using. You're seeing that they're doing this. Encourage people to stop doing this. This is setting us so backwards, and we need to be out there. If I had a fire extinguisher, I'd be out there right now trying to help put out those fires. Our law enforcement, our fire department, this is not the calls that they need to be responding to. Again, this is giving into that. So if you know people are out there, you have friends that are out there, you see that they're doing it, take a second thought, give them a call, tell them to come back home. This is not what we need to be showcased what Los Angeles is about. The Olympics are going to be coming here in just a few years. The world is watching us, and we are setting this kind of a precedent that this is what our City of Angels stands for. We have to pull back, and as much as we want to say that there's peace, these officers are trying to protect. And what we are seeing here tonight is a complete destruction of the fabric of our community. These are not protesters. These are anarchists, and they're trying to destroy our city. And so as much as we can, be online, tell people, get there, pull them back. As community members, we have to do our own community policing on that. If we see that, we got to say something. It's disappointing, and it's heartbreaking to see our city have to go through this. And our mayor is doing everything she can. Our governor is doing everything she can. Law enforcement is out there, as we can see. I can hear them out of my window right now. There is destruction, and people are driving there. Stay home. You have no need to be here in downtown. You are not protesting. You're just creating violence.
Yeah, as we're speaking with you, it looks like we're watching possible smoke bombs, smoke canisters being shot off, but I'm not even sure by who, if it's law enforcement or people that are still out on the streets. But you know, yesterday our focus really was President Trump had ordered National Guard to come in. About 300 came in, and we were hearing from a lot of local officials, including yourself, that this was going to escalate things. The reality today is, earlier today we did see the National Guard for a brief moment interact with the crowd, I should say face off with the crowd. But since then, we have not seen them leave the federal building. And in fact, many of these people now facing off with our local law enforcement. So what action really needs to be taken to de-escalate this situation?
The goal for sending the 2,000 national troops, which, by the way, was not even coordinated with our own governor, so there's multiple violations that are there as we speak. But the reality is that we're not utilizing the National Guard to protect us from what is happening right now. It's our own Sheriff's Department. It's our own LAPD. 17,000 of those combined forces out there that are responding to We all saw that gentleman in that minivan that was going, doing donuts by Union Station and heading to Boyle Heights and dropping off the car and finally got arrested. I mean, so many different. It's a game of whack-a-mole. That's what I'm seeing. There's so many different areas where these places are going, and it's putting a strain on our own local resources. But again, it's our own local resources that are protecting us, not the National Guard, and that's what Trump ordered them to do. And they're not doing that. There's a very limited amount.
Top of the hour, and welcome to the Fox 11 News on at 11 p.m. tonight during the week. This is when we say good night, L.A., but it's not a very good night in L.A. I'm Alex Michelson, along with Susan Hirasuna. And if you were just watching our interview with Governor Newsom, a couple pieces of news that came out of that. One, this idea that there's going to be a lawsuit announced tomorrow against the Trump administration fighting back on this idea of the National Guard. Another piece of news was news about his conversation with Donald Trump a couple nights ago. He had not talked about that. We had no details on that. President Trump today said that he had warned Governor Newsom, if you don't get things under control, I'm going to send in troops. Governor Newsom says that is a stone-cold lie, that never happened, and that the president is essentially making up a conversation that wasn't real. And I was struck, Susan, especially having talked to him about the wildfire relief, and when he tried to be more conciliatory to President Trump, and he gave him a lot of credit on that, how the governor was really going after the president there.
It felt as if the filter was off. There was something about his body language as well that I had not seen before. Now, perhaps you've had longer conversations with him, perhaps you have, but I've not seen where it feels as if the mask of diplomacy or what have you slipped. And he had a lot of body language that suggested he was truly angry and irritated that the President lied about the fact that he was given some kind of a warning, and that we're in this place right now where the governor says that this threatens the state's sovereignty.
Yeah, and the governor not taking a whole lot of responsibility himself for it, which is, as you see, typical for a lot of politicians. But interesting to hear his perspective. We appreciate that. We want to get back to our reporter, Matthew Seedorf, who is on the ground in downtown Los Angeles. Matthew, what's happening now?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, LASD has left. LAPD has since moved in large numbers right outside of City Hall. The protesters are still facing First Street this direction, and it's the standoff, you could say, continues. You can see flame in the street. Some of those agitators are standing behind A-frames, and this has been going on now for several hours, and it has no reason to believe it could end anytime soon. It seems like there's no real plan. There's so many sirens going off around the area right now. You see them possibly going the other direction behind us, but just kind of a chaotic scene, but also one that's been going on for a while, where there's bursts of action. There's a firework that just was thrown up in the air, and then moments where it appears like it's calming down, and then it'll kick back up again.
Matthew, let me ask you something. It sounded as if there was some kind of public announcement. Is that true, or is it one of the agitators with a bullhorn?
No, there's an agitator with a megaphone on the other side of the street. We've been seeing police go in every direction right now, so unclear what's going on. But yeah, there's an agitator with a megaphone, kind of near where someone's launching those fireworks. They've been launching them every minute or so over there. They've been really just posted up on that side of the intersection for some time now.
And LAPD not answering with flashbangs or tear gas. They're just letting them perhaps die out, like the energy, like burn out the energy, and then perhaps move on.
Yeah, LAPD really has not moved so far. Trying to see what we can see on the other end of the street, but since LAPD has got here, they've just been holding the line that the sheriff's deputies were at. Gonna look here. Looks like we can see someone on a motorcycle, bikes. You can see the crowds, and looks like LAPD on the other end of the other intersection beyond First Street, setting up another skirmish line between that street and where we are at City Hall.
That could be an attempt to perhaps cut off access on both ends of that street and then push them eventually either north or south away from the City Hall area, the Civic Center.
Yeah, it looks like that would be 2nd Street where the police are on right now, and those protesters in between where we are with police, and then police over there on 2nd Street.
Right. Somehow they've managed to keep that fire ablaze, which I find sort of interesting because it's going to need fuel.
Joining us on the phone right now, LA County Sheriff Robert Luna, thank you for joining us tonight.
Kathy, thank you for having me on.
All right. First question for you is, I know you have been very vocal about saying your men and women at the department are there to protect public safety. So tell me how you're feeling tonight as the leader of this group and what happens going forward.
Well, I'd like to say that tonight at approximately 6 p.m., the Los Angeles Police Department requested assistance from the Sheriff's Department. We sent well over 100 of our deputies into downtown L.A. I think a lot of your coverage is seeing that. We're going to be sending even more. I also requested formal mutual aid from the rest of L.A. County and outside county agencies. You're going to start seeing a lot of other agencies coming into downtown Los Angeles, along with even more additional CHP officers. So just a warning to everybody out there. You know, earlier today, there were some legitimate people exercising their First Amendment rights. What we're seeing for the last several hours and even now, a lot of unlawful behavior. We're not going to tolerate it. So I really advise people out there, go home. It's over for tonight. If you don't, part of the assistance that I'm sending to our brothers and sisters at LAPD are sheriff booking teams. They are capable of booking many people at one time. So unless you want a free night in jail tonight, go home. Stop destroying our city. Stop committing acts of violence against our police officers and deputy sheriffs. This needs to stop, man. It makes our city look horrible.
It's a really unfortunate sight, Sheriff. Jonathan Gonzalez here with you as well, and we want to thank you for your time for speaking with us. The big question tonight, and it was asked of Chief McDonnell. We just talked to Mayor Bass about the possibility of a curfew. Mayor Bass indicated, look, this is just a few isolated intersections there in only downtown LA, but is that something that is an ongoing discussion? Our Karma Dickerson also just brought it up a few moments ago. Is that something that you guys are considering at this point, or are you just trying to get these few people who are left here on the street into custody?
Curfew is always a very effective tool that's always on the table for us. I think all of you saw that during the fires, because we had some issues with looters, we used that very effectively. Those conversations have been taking place with county leaders and city leaders, so it is a consideration. Are we ready to roll with it right now? Not exactly. We're seeing the progress that's being made by all the awesome work that the deputy sheriffs and police officers are doing. And like I said earlier, we got a lot more coming in. And the goal is to bring peace and calm back to the downtown area. And,
absolutely.
What I was also going to say just really quick, please keep in mind that apart from the downtown area, we still are providing police services to the rest of the county of Los Angeles and even the city of Los Angeles. We still have 911 calls coming in. There's a lot of work on a Sunday night like tonight.
Oh, we know we work on weekends. It's very busy. I mean, we're at a busy area all the time. I'm just wondering, I know you're a brotherhood and sisterhood, all of the organizations, CHP, LAPD, everybody works together and you do help out in situations. How does it make you feel as a longtime law enforcement official to see officers attacked the way they were today and to see vehicles destroyed?
It hurts. All your viewers need to keep in mind if the family of a police officer, if you can imagine, you send your loved one to work, you're watching TV, you're just praying that they don't get seriously hurt or injured. So it's a tough job, and our people are doing amazing work out there. I'm very proud of them, and that's why I really, when you look at the protest, again, we condone the First Amendment right to do so, but the minute you start attacking police officers, that sends the wrong message. And, I believe there's a legitimate reason to protest. But this is not sending the right message. It's actually the absolute wrong message. And a lot of people out there are watching this going, what the heck are these folks doing? That is not how we make progress, specifically with this very challenging issue of immigration.
There it is. Sheriff Luna, we heard Mayor Bass say this hasn't been a protest in several hours now. And we know that you are a passionate supporter of the First Amendment, but when it becomes violent like this, all that goes out the window. Talk about the misconceptions that you've been dealing with, your department, the LAPD, about your role in federal immigration enforcement, which is to say that for decades now, you guys have no role in federal immigration enforcement.
That's correct. The LA County Sheriff's Department policy is that we do not engage in civil immigration enforcement. That has been a longstanding policy. We follow state law. County policy is even more strict than that. We do that because, one, we don't have the training or the personnel or the time to do that because we're so busy doing other things. Now, please know that when people commit crimes, whether they're immigrants or not, we're going to take appropriate action. And our deputies are very successful at reducing crime and taking the right people to jail. And that's important because I think there's this misconception that, all immigrants are committing crime, violent crime or serious crime. That's just the facts don't prove that right. It's not correct. But I do support the fact that there are individuals that with due process probably need to be removed from our community when they are violent criminals or sex offenders and things of that nature. But there's a difference. There's a difference, as they say, between crooks and cooks. We don't want to be taking the cooks, the maids, and the gardeners into custody. And because of our rich history here with immigration in Los Angeles, that's why you see all the anger out here, and I understand that.
And Sheriff Luna, we asked this of Mayor Bass, too. What do you say to the people who might have business in downtown LA tomorrow, have to go to work? How do they stay safe as we go forward?
That's, again, an excellent question. I would have them check their local news in the morning. We'll do everything we can to put out the appropriate information. I believe with all the resources we have here now and the more that are coming in and the strategies we have to make mass arrest, I think we will make this area safe for people coming in tomorrow. But then everyone needs to be aware that, from my understanding, there are several protests that are planned for the downtown area again tomorrow. We, as a department, working with other departments, are preparing for that. So just remain vigilant. If, for example, maybe call your employer and make sure that it's going to be safe for everybody to go to work. But our job is to keep these streets safe and make sure that people can come in, do their work, shop, go to restaurants, and do everything they can. And business owners are always very welcome to call, whether it's us at the Sheriff's Department or the LAPD, just to make sure that everything's going to be okay.
Sheriff Luna, to your point, Los Angeles is a city of immigrants, has always been. It's such a beautiful thing for that, and that's why there's so much fear in the community about this ongoing federal immigration enforcement. But we're expecting, according to the Trump administration and the Border Czar, Tom Homan, saying they're expecting weeks of this, at least a month worth of this. How you're going to see passionate protests, but how do we prevent the kind of violence that we're seeing tonight in downtown LA? How do we prevent this from happening again tomorrow, Tuesday, and so on?
I think we consistently communicate with our communities and maybe show videos and pictures of the destruction. And honestly, if you think about it, this may feed into somebody's perception that this city needs to be cleaned up. From an immigration perspective, we cannot, we got to send a strong message that this is not okay, that there's a different path to success or working things out. Living in the extremes of one direction or another is not the answer. We really need to work together, communicate together, and hopefully we find a good path forward.
All right. Sheriff Luna, thank you so much for joining us here on the NBC4 News tonight.
Thank you for having me. You guys have a good night.
You too.
Well, we have new reporting tonight that Elon Musk's last TV performance with Donald Trump on Friday in the Oval Office may have been less a farewell ceremony than it was the latest version of Donald Trump.
Reverse and someone throwing rocks. Okay, what's going on there? That looks very strange. Somebody, I don't know what to make of this. This seems so very dangerous. Obviously, these people throwing the rocks are not happy with that person there. I don't know if they felt this person was endangering them. This is a very bizarre scene there, and why that person would do those donuts like that in reverse. Was that person trying to send a statement and, oh, wow.
Yeah, what's going on? He seems to be having trouble controlling that car, or he's driving erratically on purpose. I think that whomever threw rocks or whatever it was, yeah, he's having trouble controlling that car. Oh, or has decided to go past the those barricades there. This is basically the Alvera Street area, the plaza.
I'm just wondering,
not where traffic.
Well, right now it's still daylight, so I'm thinking that it could potentially. I mean, what we're seeing now is a huge startup for when the sun goes down, when activity really kicks off. My FBI brethren, Bobby Chacon, said just a little while ago, he used a perfect term, that the mayor poured fire on this, and that is exactly what we're seeing. And this fire right here, LA has to remember, it almost burnt down just a few months ago. And when we start to see this type of actions, it is no longer a peaceful protest. It doesn't matter that some people stand around. The reality is this has gone from a protest to a riot, and it's actually been that way for about 3 days now. And this is the perfect example of where the National Guard could be used. Usually they're a buffer or a blocking force as an augment to law enforcement. But when we get to this point, this is exactly why President Trump pushed and activated the National Guard in that area. And even the mayor said that this is how incompetent she is. She said that she knew they were being activated, but she didn't think that they would actually be on the street. So I don't know what she thinks, but this is exactly why. That incompetence, these rioters, equal the National Guard being called up, and if the mayor wasn't going to do it, the governor wasn't going to do it, then the president did the right thing. And this is why citizens should not have to deal with this kind of nonsense. That I will say this, if we look at this historically over the past decade, this is not about Mexicans being deported. This is about the left organized, and many of these protesters are organized and shipped all over the country. They can start a protest, they can start a riot within a couple of hours anywhere in the country. That's how organized they are. We see the same tactics, we see the same uniforms and outfits that they wear, and right now, what's happening, it's still daylight. If law enforcement and the National Guard get a hold on this and push these people out of there, they will win for tonight. And that's what they need to start thinking about, not waiting until the evening. They need to be active right now.
Yeah, and we hear KTLA, our affiliate on the ground, reporting that about half a dozen cars are now on fire, and that one we were zoomed into moments ago, it does appear to be a Waymo. There was the self-driving technology on the top of that car. But again, LAPD reporting that demonstrators were stopping these cars driving on Los Angeles north of Arcadia Street. And then setting them on fire. It's incredibly disturbing to see. I mean, you mentioned the National Guard now being deployed to the LA area today. How long would you expect them to stay here, given the severity of the situation now?
Well, I think they were originally deployed because ICE was being attacked and federal agents were being attacked, and they weren't able to do their job. But now this is occurring where now you're starting to see potential loss of life. You're definitely seeing damage of private property and even potentially public property. If the governor is not going to do something, look right there now, you're seeing 2 fires where there was just one. If the governor is not going to stop this and the mayor is not going to push the power forward and tell the people to go home, although I don't think that's going to have any bearing on this crowd, then it is in the president's authority to go out there and protect the public. That if the governor of a state is not going to do it, the president can step in there and do it. This, I can tell you right now, is not only going to spread in that city, it's going to spread around the country. And these fires, what we're seeing right here, I think is the beginning of potential something greater than just a riot. I think you may start to see some buildings burn here pretty soon.
It's incredibly concerning. You know, these protests in LA County seem larger in scope than any that we've seen thus far during the current immigration crackdowns by the Trump administration.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.
And we have breaking news right now. LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell about to address the protests we've seen today. Let's listen in.
You good? All good? All right, thank you. Thank you. First of all, I know it's a very, very busy time. Thank you all for coming here tonight and allowing us the opportunity to be able to brief the public a little bit about what's going on and what we've been doing, and ask truly an ask for peace throughout our city. I'm joined here by Gerald Woodyard, Deputy Chief from Operations West Bureau, Herman Hurtado, Commander from Professional Standards Bureau, and from Operations Central Bureau, Raul Jovel, who's also the Incident Commander for Central Bureau and for this incident. So I want to just take an opportunity to speak directly to the people of Los Angeles, clarify LAPD's roles and the events that have been playing out over these past couple of days. This includes our response to protests, our public safety responsibilities, and recent claims that you've seen made by some federal officials. Today I met with Governor Newsom, Mayor Bass, U.S. Attorney General of the Central District of California, Bill Aseli, and ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons. Let me begin by reaffirming a core principle. The LAPD supports and protects the First Amendment right to free speech. In recent days, many protests across the city have been peaceful, and we thank the community for expressing their views and their frustration in a responsible manner. However, when peaceful demonstrations devolve into acts of vandalism or violence, especially violence directed at innocent people, law enforcement officers, and others, we must respond firmly. An act of violence, whether toward officers, demonstrators, or the public, will be met with swift and lawful action. Our goal is to maintain order without escalating conflict and to protect everybody's right to safety. Recent public statements have misrepresented LAPD's action from an incident the other night. Specifically, there was a claim that LAPD delayed responding to a federal officer's request for assistance by more than 2 hours. When we heard that, I think anybody who's a police officer couldn't believe it, and certainly anyone with LAPD couldn't imagine how that would happen. Well, it didn't happen, and I just want to go into that just a little bit. LAPD was not given advance notice that the federal operations would occur in that area. As a result, we were not pre-positioned to respond immediately to unrest related to those actions. Once the call for assistance came in, LAPD responded within 38 minutes. And that sounds like a long time, but I'll tell you why that is. The response was impacted by traffic, crowd density in the area with unrest occurring, hazardous conditions caused by tear gas that was previously deployed by federal agents at that location. Many of our officers, because it was put together in a mobile field force configuration without advance notice, were not equipped with gas masks. But despite these challenges, we moved in quickly and as safely as possible. At no point did LAPD ignore or intentionally delay any request for help. I also want to be unequivocally clear. The Los Angeles Police Department does not participate in or coordinate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement on civil immigration enforcement. We've said this over and over again, and I can't stress it enough for the people in our community who have high levels of anxiety about this issue, that we want everybody to believe and be able to call the LAPD in time of need if they've been a victim of a crime or a witness to a crime. We need that. Otherwise, the system does not work. That has been our policy and remains our policy, and it went into effect in 1979. So 46 years ago, that's been the way we do business. On the other hand, however, when a law enforcement agency, any agency, requests emergency assistance to protect lives, we are obligated to respond, and we do. Public safety is our duty, and we will answer every legitimate call for help from anyone. We recognize that immigration enforcement operations can cause a deep fear and anxiety, particularly in immigrant communities. That's why we're committed to transparency, accountability, and treating every Angelino with respect, regardless of their immigration status. Our job is not to divide communities or politicize law enforcement. Our job is simply to keep everyone safe. I want to express my sincere appreciation to all of our officers and partner agencies for their dedication and professionalism during these very challenging times. Their commitment to upholding the law, even in the face of hostility, is a reflection of the values that we stand for. We're working together to keep everyone safe, our officers and the public alike, and this remains our top priority. We'll continue to support peaceful protests and enforce the law when criminal acts occur. The LAPD remains focused on its core mission to protect lives, safeguard constitutional rights, and serve every neighborhood in Los Angeles with integrity. Let me open it up now for any questions you might have or any points that we can clarify.
Chief, the governor made a very strong statement that he didn't believe the Trump administration needed to activate those National Guard troops and take control of those National Guard troops in some of the areas because he felt we had adequate safety protections officers here. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, if I don't know what basis they used to make that decision, but if that was based on our what I delineated here about the perceived lack of response to a help call by an outside agency, that did not happen. We did respond with mobile field force configuration. And just to explain that, a mobile field force is a configuration of people or officers within the organization that we bring in from around the city. We declare a tactical alert so we can break them away from their primary duties of answering radio calls to be able to come in, form up. They're trained in this tactic into a configuration of 4 squads or a platoon that are led by a mobile field force leader. They then go 4 deep in the car and they drive into the impacted area, and that way they can safely go in a large group of officers and able to handle whatever they come across. If we were to send in a single unit or a couple of units into a riotous scene, certainly they'd be surrounded and the outcome would probably not be good. And so this is a configuration that has worked for us, developed here, worked for us for many years, but it doesn't happen instantaneously. So we have to call in units. We have to meet at a certain location. They get the information they need to operate in the environment, and then they go and they take care of business. And so that takes a little bit of time for us to be able to get in there in about 35 minutes is pretty much textbook. So while we'd love to be able to say we can get there in seconds or minutes, in the reality of a situation of civil unrest, we got to do it right. We got to do it safely for everybody involved.
Hold on. So go one at a time, please, and let's identify name and outlet.
Victor with Univision. Chief, we have seen two kinds of groups, at least from Friday, Saturday, and today that I've been working. The community that is enraged and they're not happy with the actions of ICE, and then the community that loots and attacks and destroys our city. What would be your direct message to both groups?
Yeah, to the people who are not happy with the fact that ICE is in the community doing what ICE does, I respect ICE for being a fellow law enforcement agency. They have their mission. They have their what they have to do. We don't engage in that activity, but again, we can't preclude them from doing that. They have every right to do that. I ask people in the community to trust the LAPD, that we're not there for that purpose, and that if they have something they need us to be able to address, we're there for them. As far as the big picture of what can I recommend they do or not do, that's something it's a federal issue, and the federal authorities have the right to be able to do what they're doing. As far as people worried about the violence that we're seeing, this violence that I've seen is disgusting. It's escalated now since the beginning of this incident. What we saw the first night was bad. What we've seen subsequent to that is getting increasingly worse and more violent. Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you. And we have adapted our tactics to be able to have a chance to be able to take these people into custody and to be able to hold them accountable. We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity and the type of things that they're doing. They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers, to throw at cars, and throw at other people. We've seen people with hammers, and you've broadcasted, breaking the bollards behind the federal building and taking the rocks, if you will, or pieces of concrete, and throwing them at officers. We've had liquid of who knows what description thrown at officers. There's no limit to what they're doing to our officers. And again, as I mentioned in my statement, I can't thank our folks enough and our partner agency police officials for going out there and taking care of the community and trying to be able to put themselves between the threat and the overall community. And they do this night in and night out. And in these past couple of nights, we've seen it at a level that I think disgusts every good person.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You just described some pretty violent and chaotic situations. What is your position on the National Guard being deployed? Do we need them here?
Well, it's an interesting question, because I would have said that, we could handle this. I believe that we would have gone through a number of steps before we'd have deployed the National Guard or requested deployment of the National Guard. We would normally go to 50% deployment to handle radio calls and do the business of policing, and everybody else would be focused on the initial problem. Beyond that, then we would request through the sheriff mutual aid, and that would bring in members of the 44 other police departments in LA County, as well as the sheriff's office. And so that didn't occur in this case because it wasn't done through the sheriff or through up through the normal chain. It was done from the top down, from the president directing that happened, and then the National Guard was federalized. So they're working for the U.S. Army, not for the California State National Guard. Do we need them? Well, looking at tonight, this thing has gotten out of control. I think before I could answer that, I'd have to know more about what their capabilities are, what their role is intended to be able to make that determination. But we have great cops in Southern California here that work together all the time. So we have tremendous capability here. To say that we would go to that right away, I'd say we wouldn't have been there yet. Looking at the violence tonight, I think we got to make a reassessment.
Laurel,
how has your department interacted with the National Guard, if at all, since they've been here?
I'd say very little, other than we had a conference call this afternoon. There aren't a whole lot of soldiers in place at this time. They're still incoming. But the people who are here, tremendous Americans here trying to do, provide their service, doing the task that they're charged with. Our relationship has been tremendous overall with the National Guard. We worked right alongside them for 5 months during the Palisades fire. They were there every day in the beginning in large numbers, and then that narrowed down before they demobilized. But the relationship is overall tremendous. We're very, very good partners with them, and I hope they feel the same about us.
And when you look at the demonstrators who are people from the community who are upset about, the immigration raids, families being broken up, deportations happening, do you feel any sense of kinship with them, or about this situation, or do you see that there is need for more law enforcement and for more immigration enforcement in Los Angeles?
I think the federal agents are enforcing federal immigration law, which is their right, and anybody can have their personal opinion on to what level that should be, who should they focus on, and those kind of things. I won't take a position on that because really that's not our focus, not our job. But when I look at the people who are out there doing the violence, that's not the people that we see during the day who are legitimately out there exercising their First Amendment rights and to be able to express their feelings about the immigration enforcement issue. These are people who are all hooded up. They've got a hoodie on. They've got face masks on. They're people who do this all the time, get away with whatever they can, go out there, from one civil unrest situation to another, using the same or similar tactics frequently, and they are connected. Some would call them anarchists or by any other variety of names, but they're people that we run across routinely city to city, and this is what they do. So even more disgusting that many of the people who are doing this come in from other places just to hurt people and to cause havoc.
Chief, let's go next to Telemundo over here.
Okay.
Sorry, Navarro from Telemundo 52. Do you think that the presence of National Guard increased the level to this kind of situation? I mean, you said that it's disgusting. You think that if you control it without them, it could be a different situation?
I don't know. That's a very interesting question. What was the catalyst for us seeing the second and third day of this becoming increasingly more violent? To be able to say it's because of the National Guard, I can't, because there aren't enough on the ground at this point to make a difference. I've seen civil unrest a number of times before, and generally the second and third days are more violent than the initial phase. And so this is not much different from that pattern. But certainly I think there's a number of things that cause people to come out. Much of it is they watch this and see it on TV, social media, whatever social media outlets they follow, or asking them or telling them to come down and be part of this, and they do that. And they come out here, and many come out and just want to see what's going on. They're out there with their cameras, but they're putting themselves in harm's way and potentially setting themselves up for a criminal future. When you look at some of the things that are happening here, somebody could easily be killed. And if you're part of that, then you're going to be facing those charges as well. I talked to the DA just a couple of minutes ago, and the DA will file felony charges on individuals where it's appropriate, but won't be shy about doing that where it is appropriate. And also the potential for federal charges, given the type of environment we're in. And, the federal authorities don't play. And so as we move forward, I think people will be surprised in some cases for what happens to their future.
Right, let's go 2 more questions. Anybody that hasn't asked already, go ahead. Thank you.
Lindsay Penny, KTLA. Given the amount of officers that are here in downtown LA, how does that affect response times in other parts of the city and safety of people that are not down?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. A great question. It was, how does the deployment of so many officers downtown or in any one part of the city affect our ability to provide police services citywide? It greatly impacts our ability because it pulls officers who would normally deployed in communities around the city of Los Angeles into one area in order to be able to address the threat that we're facing. And so other areas, when we go on tactical alert, that means we only handle radio calls of significant importance, meaning a violent crime in progress, calls that have to be answered right away. So the other calls get put on a queue and may not get handled for some time to come. And they're important to everyone who is a victim of any kind of a crime. And so when we go to tactical alert, we don't do it lightly. But in this case, we did it very quickly because we needed additional resources right away to be able to help quell the violence. And that situation, as you can see tonight, has only gotten worse.
Chief, given what you said about not being informed so you could pre-stage for the incident that started this thing, I understood, I believe that you spoke with the ICE director as well as other city officials today. Is there any effort being made for ICE to share information about what their next move is?
Yeah, that's something that we did talk about, and there's no resolution to that. And the problem is that we are guided and bound by the California Values Act, which means that we can't participate in any way in civil immigration enforcement. So the federal partners have been reticent to provide information to us before something happens because of that reason. Part of that is they want to be respectful of the rules that we have to live by, but it also, on a normal situation, not that big a deal, but in a situation like we saw here in the past couple of days, it turns out to be a very big deal. So we're going to continue to work with the partners that I mentioned and many others as we go forward to try and be able to make things as safe for everybody as we can.
All right, Spectrum. Chief, how many arrests so far?
You have that?
Yes, Captain Raul Javel, Operations Central Bureau, the incident commander. At least, this is very fluid and preliminary, at least 10 people arrested so far. There's arrests being made as we speak. About 3 officers injured. Unfortunately, very fortunate on very minor injuries, or I wouldn't say not minor, but they're not significant enough to be transported to a local hospital. They were treated at the scene. But we're making more arrests as we speak, and we're trying to get into that posture where we're able to make arrests. Right now, really, our officers are really under attack. If you can see when the chief was talking about, we're trying to, first of all, ensure that our officers are safe and the public is safe, and then we'll move into, if we can arrest, we'll arrest, and then obviously protect the property and our vehicles and other things like that. But as of now, 10 arrests.
And if I could just jump on, and then 29 last night as well. And so as we move forward, we will step up our arrest posture in order to hold people accountable and do what we can to stop this violence.
We're going to go 2 more questions.
Really quick, yeah, she asked the question that I have really quickly. How long can we expect for this situation to happen?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
How long do you think this situation is going to be?
Yeah, for me, again, that would be speculative to say how long that the members of ICE will be in town doing the enforcement actions they're doing. But by calling out the National Guard, oftentimes their deployment periods are in 30-day periods. And so, to me, it's going to be an extended period of time. I don't know how long that'll be. We're gearing up for that to be able to participate in a meaningful way as we move forward without exhausting our people beyond what they already are. We're a department that went through 5 months plus of the fires and dealing with the fallout from the fires. And as you can imagine, with a very limited sized department to begin with, that's a big stress on our deployment, but more so on our people and their families. So as we move forward, we'll do everything we can to focus on employee wellness and to be able to offer whatever services we can to address the needs of our folks.
Sure. We'll go one more back there because he hasn't asked yet, and so Carmen, go ahead, and then one more, and then we're gonna call it.
So just 2 questions. One, is there a chance of instituting a curfew? And 2, will you be going back and re-looking at any of these incidents that maybe there wasn't an opportunity to make an arrest at a time, but going back and trying to investigate who's responsible and potentially arresting after that?
No, thank you for the question. I spoke with the sheriff today, and we discussed the possibility of implementing a curfew. We don't rush into doing that, but if we need to do that, I'll go back with the sheriff and we'll look at the options as far as that goes. And as far as give me the second part of the question again.
For some of these incidents we watch unfold, a lot of people watch
I got you.
things just unfold in real time.
Yeah.
Thinking, are any of these people going to be held accountable for this,
Yeah.
for the cars on fire and things like that? Is there a chance of going back?
Absolutely. When you look at the numbers of arrests we've made, pale in comparison to what will be made. There are video accounts of what happened everywhere on social media, on individuals, cameras, iPhones. We will go after that. Very aggressively go after the all available video, analyze that video, and hold whoever we can accountable for the variety of different types of crimes that have been committed. And that's something we'll do with a number of different partners with levels of expertise that may be beyond what we have. No, thank you for that.
Matt Armstead from the LA Times. Can you tell me on what charges people were arrested yesterday and today?
Do you have the specifics?
So yesterday, the 29 folks were for failure to disperse. They were all arrested today. So today, so far, this is very preliminary because there's so much stuff going on. The stuff that we know is one person was arrested for throwing a Molotov cocktail at an officer, a significant incident, and then another individual for ramming a motorcycle into one of our line where the officers were and injured one of the officers. Everything else is still very fluid, and I won't have that for a while.
Was anyone arrested on the freeway or related to the freeway?
So CHP has made at least 17 arrests that I'm aware of in the freeway.
Can you tell us?
All right, thank you, everyone. Commander Hurtado will stick around to do.
All right, you just heard LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell wrapping up a news conference condemning the ongoing violence following the protest today in downtown LA, saying that the LAPD will support people's rights to free speech and protest, but that they have to maintain order when peaceful demonstrations devolve into acts of violence, which is what we're seeing right now from News Chopper 4. As you see flashbangs and officers moving in on protesters there at Olvera Street. We want to bring in our Conan Nolan, who's standing by in the newsroom. He just listened to the news conference with us. Conan, your thoughts on the news conference?
Jim McDonnell has a lot of experience in this area, 45 years as a police officer in Southern California, but he's never been in a situation like this where he is facing not just the protests, the violent protests, the safety of his officers, but dealing with the navigating through this dust-up over the National Guard being deployed by the President of the United States and the governor of the state of California, who says that that was a breach of state sovereignty, pleading with Donald Trump to relinquish control of the National Guard to the state of California for proper deployment. In fact, the governor spoke with MSNBC's Jacob Soboroff just a few minutes ago. Here's what he had to say.
I mean, look, Donald Trump has created the conditions you see on your TV tonight. He's exacerbated the conditions. He's, lit the proverbial match. He's putting fuel on this fire ever since he announced he was taking over the National Guard. An illegal act, an immoral act, an unconstitutional act, and we're going to test that theory with a lawsuit tomorrow. These images are unacceptable. These kids on the car, the folks that are taking advantage of this, these aren't peaceful protesters, a lot of these folks, a lot of great people out there doing the right thing. But you get these insurgent groups coming in, sort of these anarchists that are in there to create real problems. And they're just playing right into Donald Trump's hand. And they need to be called out. They need to be arrested. It is wrong to destroy other people's property, and it is wrong to create the conditions that only exacerbate this. But Donald Trump, at the end of the day, is the sponsor of these conditions.
Of course, the Trump administration would have a much different opinion about that, but the governor seems to be right. The images of violence certainly plays into the hardline approach from the federal government when it comes to not just immigration, but the response to these violent attacks. Back to you.
And he didn't mince words either, the chief, Conan, saying that people here who are held responsible, they could even face felony charges, even federal charges because of the situation we're in.
Right. Definitely federal charges. I can guarantee you that the U.S. attorney is doing everything he possibly can to maintain that a federal posture when it comes to the follow-up in court. I have to tell you, though, there's a third law, Newton's third law of gravity. An action, any action meets its equal and opposite reaction. That sort of plays to what the governor is saying to a certain degree. And I know the police chief didn't get into it too much, but he believes that by issuing this order to send in the National Guard from the administration of Washington, which is highly unlikely or irregular. Last time that happened was 1965, I think, in Little Rock, Arkansas, when they were enforcing desegregation of schools. That engenders this response. There's a nuance that law enforcement takes, certainly local law enforcement and the state-run National Guard, as to when you deploy, because you don't want to essentially help foment this kind of violence by saying, we're showing up with rifles and helmets, why don't you show up and attack us? Because that's sort of what we're seeing here. Now, again, it's difficult because now the National Guard's there, the riot continues, and you do have, and I was downtown earlier today, there are individuals who come for a fight. That's what they want. They showed up with masks. They showed up with eye protection. They know, and this was in the afternoon, they know there's going to be a fight. They're there for that fight. And I've told all sorts of people who engage in the peaceful protest that when you're peacefully protesting and you see those folks show up, I can guarantee you it's going to get nasty soon. And that is what has happened over the past 3 nights. But again, Jim McDonald, LAPD, LASO, Long Beach Police Chief. He was the #2 guy at LAPD for years under Bill Bratton. He's been through this before, but not exactly quite this political dynamic where you have the mayor and the governor in opposition to the president of the United States, and the president even saying things like, well, maybe we should arrest them. Unheard of, I think, in the history of the Republic. So, yeah, it makes these things extremely more complicated for the police chief as they try to stop this violence and get everybody off the street in downtown Los Angeles. The Civic Center primarily is where this is taking place. Alameda at the 101 freeway over by the Metropolitan Detention Center. Most of downtown is fine, but there are spots in the Civic Center where most of the rioting has taken place, and it looks like it could be another long night.
Absolutely, Conan, thank you. And speaking of which, we believe our News Chopper 4 is over near City Hall. We want to get up to Roland Spruill. Roland, what's your location? And I believe what we're seeing now is separate from what we were seeing down the street at Olvera Street?
Yeah, we are trying to get closer to this. What you're looking at is a fire at the corner of Spring and First Street. We're trying to jockey around a number of other media ships to get to this location. We understand that there are trees on fire, vegetation on fire, and we're trying to make our way over there. Now, I can't tell you how many different things that we have observed in the last 30 minutes that you guys have been talking, and just before you came to us. When we first flew overhead, there was a CHP cruiser that was on the freeway. These protesters had thrown scooters. They had thrown like those bird scooters. They had thrown all kinds of paraphernalia. George, we can reposition over there if we can. Get as close to that fire as possible. But they had thrown all kinds of devices over the freeway overpass onto the freeway, causing damage to a CHP cruiser, caused deployment of the airbags. It's unclear what condition that CHP officer is in, but the vehicle was severely damaged. They had to get it off the freeway. From that point on, officers had to deal with the protesters on the overpass, and they began confronting them. Now, when I tell you guys, it's been since 1992. I was a young firefighter back then. This reminds me of every bit of the riots of 1992 in its incipient stages. I mean, when I tell you that these people are at war with LAPD, that is not hyperbole by any stretch of the imagination. They have been throwing fireworks, professional-grade fireworks. There's been an exchange between LAPD and the protesters with flashbangs and fireworks. They've been throwing even Molotov cocktails at LAPD. We saw one particular situation where they threw a Molotov cocktail and almost hit a number of officers, a group of officers. This is just such a dangerous situation that is starting to develop here. And as we try and jockey over to this location, get a better shot of this, guys, I am just without words to describe exactly what's going on here. This is not looking good as we make our way into the evening.
Yeah, and we're going into the night. As you said, that becomes a more dangerous time of night when everything is dark. And right now, there is still mayhem in the streets. We have heard that a couple of officers were injured, although not too seriously, where they had to be transported. But I mean, again, this is a risk for the public. If you are down there, it is not safe. Just a few stragglers that we had from earlier, the peaceful protests. People were concerned about the immigration operations that have been going on here, and they came out to express their opinions, and now it has lingered into this.
Yeah, we have still a number of people there on the streets of downtown LA, circled mostly around the LA City Hall building, as well as Olvera Street, a few different intersections there. It's amazing to me that we're even even seeing vehicles moving through this area given the ongoing situation, people in the street, fires. We saw Waymo, I think at least 5 Waymo vehicles set on fire earlier, a very dangerous situation there. And the LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell reiterating that if you are out there, you are subject to arrest, and you will not just face felony charges, more than likely you will face federal charges by the Trump administration for what we're seeing here. So far, they've made 10 arrests tonight, 29 last night, but they are anticipating more. Separately, the CHP has made 17 arrests since Friday.
He also talked about discussing with Sheriff Luna the possibility of a curfew to kind of quell some of the violence. He said that will still remain to be seen whether they do something like that. But again, as we watch this fire, just one of the many acts that we have seen tonight. We saw people putting up barricades. They were literally taking chairs that were at Grand Park and different barricades that were maybe going to be used for the celebration, or not a celebration, but the protest down there, and taking those and making a barricade. Eventually, they were able to move that group. But it's these splinter groups. It's happening all over, street to street.
Yeah, the peaceful protesters have gone home. It's been hours now where you have mostly agitators here. They're still left on the scene with even, Governor Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass condemning these acts of violence. You heard the LAPD chief talk about hammers and rocks being thrown at officers, pieces of concrete that are being broken up with those hammers being thrown at officers or their vehicles. You've mentioned fireworks, Kathy, and then Roland did as well, and then a number of fires. I believe this is either Spring or Temple. We're trying to get a good vantage point, but you see, look, a number of people, certainly not the total number we saw today, but those protesters have gone home. These are the people that police want to go home, and if not, they're going to issue plenty of arrests here.
We're going to keep an eye on it. We'll be following this throughout the night, and stay with us. We'll be back for the NBC4 News coming up at 11. We'll have more updates on NBCLA.com and the NBCLA app.
NYU law professor Melissa Murray, Mary McCord, a former acting assistant attorney general for national security at DOJ, and Andrew Weissman, former FBI general counsel and a Mueller prosecutor. Mary and Andrew also co-host the MSNBC Main Justice podcast. And if we wanted to pull out Wikipedia, we could add many more details and accolades about all of your careers. Welcome. Andrew, your thoughts tonight.
So I was thinking when you were talking that one way that I try and think about this is divide things into the illegal, another group is the incompetent, and another group is the unwise. And it's worth sort of remembering that third bucket. There are a whole bunch of things that are going on that are legal. They just are things that I think many people would find to be sort of outrageous or improvident. I mean, start with day one, which is pardoning people who assaulted our democracy, but actually also assaulted law enforcement. Then there's this bucket of just the incompetent. Abrego Garcia, could be an example of that. The claim that the Harvard letter was a mistake, which I think is palpably not true, given subsequent actions. But remember, the defense of what happened there is the government saying, oh, no, that was a mistake. So that would be gross incompetence as the defense of doing something that Harvard says is illegal. And then the thing that we spend a lot of time on is things where the courts have actually said over and over again, this is illegal. But I think it's useful to put it in the context of a number of different things.
Not where traffic typically would go.
Susan, was this person trying to hurt or endanger those that were in the streets there?
I feel like the people in that intersection or near that intersection felt as if, that this was somebody that was...
Not one of them.
No.
Look at the way this person's driving on the sidewalk. Oh, my gosh. This is very...
The Trump administration, and today President Trump spoke about Governor Newsom's handling of the situation. Here's what he had to say.
You have an incompetent governor. Just take a look at the train stations that he's building. Like 20 times over budget. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So I did call him the other night. I said, look, you got to take care of this. Otherwise, I'm sending in the troops. That's what we did.
Sending in the troops. All right, this just in from Governor Newsom. He says the president is threatening to deploy roughly 500 active duty Marines to LA. The governor posting this just an hour ago, telling residents to, quote, remain peaceful, don't fall into the trap extremists are hoping for. The governor also posting today that he's asking the Trump administration to rescind that deployment of National Guard troops in LA and return them to his command, the state command there. The governor attaching his letter to the White House and saying in part, we didn't have a problem until Trump got involved. This is a serious breach of state sovereignty, inflaming tensions while pulling resources from where they're actually needed. Rescind the order, return control to California. That from Governor Newsom to President Trump.
And we should just point out how unusual it is to federalize state National Guardsmen. So it hasn't happened in decades. So it's quite unusual indeed. That is in part why a lot of the local officials and the state officials are saying this is inappropriate. Don't do it. Please rescind those troops. All right. So we just gave you another view of what's happening from Skyfox as you see a continuous raining of stones and rocks onto those CHP patrol cars on the 101 freeway. And then look at the scene on the right, screen right. This is earlier today when the California National Guard finally arrived. So it was the order went out yesterday. President Trump even suggested that the National Guard was on site and bringing peace to the city of LA before any had actually arrived in the city of LA. But there you have it, visual evidence that indeed there are now California National Guard in the city of Los Angeles.
And we should note that we have largely seen the National Guard outside that detention center, that federal building there. When you wonder about National Guard being deployed throughout Southern California, this is where we're largely seeing it. I did read in the LA Times that they said they spotted National Guard in Paramount, where we had protests yesterday. But right now, President Trump has them, what I can see here, outside the federal building. And you can see quite the confrontation there. And Susan, I think you and I were talking in the newsroom about the California National Guard. I've interviewed and talked to a lot of those guys and women also during the wildfires who were stationed during our wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades area. And a lot of them I talked to are from right here in LA, and many are Latino. And so I'm wondering what their thought is as they watch all this go down in the city that they probably love as well.
Well, I'm sure they feel like they're doing the job that they were told that they were supposed to do. Now, did you also not say that there's some suggestion that perhaps some are saying that they might be able to get out of the duty because they have a conscientious objection?
There was a posting on social media from somebody reliable that has worked in our business who posted something that if you're in the National Guard and you object to being deployed like this, contact this number and perhaps you could talk with somebody. But that was just a posting, again, from a former news colleague. We are watching more footage here as it comes in.
All right, so yeah, so the left corner is a live picture, and then down below is some video that we had.
LAPD we're going to look at here.
Law enforcement working overtime during these protests. And joining us live is Dikran Melkonian, a retired LAPD officer. What is your take? Am I correct in I've heard this before, John, we heard it from John Miller, who used to work for LAPD, that the unusual thing about today is that it is not a coordinated effort. We're used to seeing agencies work together during the wildfires, for example, but this time that's not the case. The California National Guard are here, LAPD, LASD. How are they working? Are they working together?
Right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It is very unprecedented, right? Well, historically, LAPD has always worked with federal government or federal law enforcement agencies, but it is such a different issue now because of the fact that federal government has a certain policy to take care of. And therefore, LAPD has to stay neutral, because if we infringe and support of taking immigration stance, then the community generally as a whole will no longer have that trust to call the police, to, if they're a victim of a crime, to reach out and ask for help, because they'll fear as though if they are not legalized citizen here, they'll be taken. So therefore, it is different because we still want to support any federal activity that's happening for their protection as police officers. But we also have to have the trust of the community and let them trust us if there's any crimes that are happening against them.
The Trump administration has been quite critical of the state of California and the city of Los Angeles for declaring themselves sanctuaries. Last night, Mayor Bass pointed out our declaration as a sanctuary city is 45 years old, and for the exact reason that you just mentioned, that before they had protections for immigrants, there was the concern that people would be preying upon them and they would be too afraid to report to police or the authorities. And now this, I mean, again, Mayor Bass also pointed out that these raids, which they're taking everybody out of a company, out of like a apparel company, and not really being very discerning on whether or not you indeed do have some kind of violent criminal record. What is your take on that? What is your opinion on how ICE agents are handling this?
Well, it's important to note that that's not my place because as a law enforcement officer for 30 years, your job as an officer is regardless of what is occurring, as long as it's a lawful order, paramount is public safety. Obviously, the federal government and their law enforcement have a job to do. You might agree or not agree. Listen, LAPD has over 56% Hispanic men and women working in the field. It is also a problem for them. They might even know people that are involved in this. But as a professional police officer in this city, you have to make sure that the public safety is as paramount important here. So that's what they're doing now. And unfortunately, we're seeing a breakdown of the First Amendment where we have peaceful protests becoming civil unrest, attacks against others, against public property. And now you're in that position as a police officer to handle a very uncontrollable situation.
Well, the three of us have all been in LA for decades. Susan, you're a native LA, Angelino. Officer, I'm wondering if you can compare some of the major crises we've had. I'm thinking back to the '92 riots where I was a field reporter out there on the streets like our Matthew Seedorf is, the riots after George Floyd. What you're seeing in this sign of the times as to how policing is done. We know cell phones are everywhere, cameras are everywhere. Everything is instantaneous when it comes to getting out information, where to go for a protest or to post video. What do you make of how policing is done today?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge challenge, I think, today for police officers. Obviously, like 2020, George Floyd, this is so reminiscent of that. People are emotionally charged. But unfortunately, some people take that First Amendment and now become violent, and that's the issue. So this, to me, looking back and answering your question, this is very reminiscent of 2020. And you're absolutely right. The social media aspect of it, the organization of these kind of protests involves so many people coming in. And look, there's 80% good people that come in and want to do a normal protest, but there's that combination of people, that group that want to become anarchists and want to utilize this time to destroy the city and hurt others. So 2020 definitely, going back to May Day of 2007, obviously another moment in time where we had this kind of issue. The biggest thing now is to ensure that our police officers have the trust of the community, and we are making sure to continue communicating with them and to know that we are there for them and make sure that our families are okay.
Yeah, let's hope that message gets through. Deacon, thank you so much for your time. We're going to move on and go back to Matthew Seedorf. He is down on the ground there in downtown Los Angeles. Matthew, I find it so remarkable how these rocks just keep raining upon most of the vehicles because we see that the officers themselves are under the overpass.
Right now, the officers are firing back. It appears like there's a pepper spray canister that's going off as my eyes are crying pretty significantly. You can see, we're in the gas right now. All the people have cleared out where we are right now because of this gas and members of law enforcement firing up. And it's a pretty intense situation still, as it looks like members of CHP are still underneath this overpass. We did see one protester get hit by one of those rubber bullets and needed assistance to walk away, as we're still seeing people throwing rocks underneath with members of CHP, it looks like, pointing those non-lethals right back. I will tell you, this gas, it just makes, more gas. It just makes your eyes burn. I don't know if we can see those gas canisters going on.
don't subject yourself to that tear gas longer than you have to. If you can just sort of walk away, perhaps.
It looked like that smoke was coming that gas was coming right up towards our camera, so we can understand if, Matthew, you need to pull back just a little bit to catch your breath there. Let us know when you want to go.
So we're trying to get a good vantage point. I don't know if you can see my eyes right now, just how much this stings. Runny nose, everything. We'll back up a little bit.
Yeah, the thing is about that mask, it's not really designed for tear gas.
Just looking over here, Elliot, if you want to flip around. So where we're standing right now, this is on the 101 and in Main Street, and all the protesters were lined up here where we were standing. They've sensed that tear gas is appearing to work. People have moved on. They were firing those rubber bullets up here, but you can still see protesters trying to throw things down, but it definitely seems like it is dispersing the crowd right now.
Well, it's interesting to see how this is happening to disperse that crowd. You have those officers there on the freeway below, and that tear gas coming up. Are you seeing law enforcement on the ground level where you are, Matthew?
No, we're not seeing any law enforcement on the ground level where we are, but it looks like the crowd is pushing this direction onto Main Street. I believe that
towards
is
Chinatown?
north on Main Street. Yeah, they're running that direction right now, and then you can looking towards the federal building over here. There's still a large presence of protesters that way. As you can hear people coughing from this gas. I mean, it definitely cleared people out of this area. Are you all right?
Are you all right, Matthew?
Yeah, we're good.
Looks like you're in the path of the wind where it's coming right towards you, and we appreciate your reporting there in these difficult conditions. Please, please maybe get out of the path of the wind there. Okay.
I have to tell you, Matthew and Christine, we're very familiar with that area because we go down there. It's not very far away from the DOJ where the LASD is. It's not very far away, of course. We talked about it already. The federal building, Little Tokyo, from the Japanese American National Museum. And so to see so much vandalism, so much graffiti on the walls is disturbing, to say the least, because, again, all the local authorities are saying, yes, you have a right to protest, but your right to protest stops at being destructive and violent. And when we talked to Bill Essayli, the U.S. Attorney, yesterday, he was quite pointed in saying, if you're destructive, if you hurt one of my officers, we will find you. Now we're looking at Skyfox, and we see these agents, these police officers, as they're running on this road. Is this still part of the 101? Yeah, that is part of the freeway down below. And that patrol car going through that smoke or the tear gas.
Well, Susan, with people on that overpass throwing rocks, etc., onto those vehicles, there was really no way those officers could move the vehicles or move out of that area. And they were taking safety and shelter underneath the overpass there. But also keep in mind, for Angelenos, that means no vehicles going through the freeway in that direction as well. So as long as that freeway is shut down, that's a major hassle for everybody else trying to get around Los Angeles at this point in time. So they were able to move people largely from that area, but you can see people on the top there. Somebody just threw something down right now, so obviously that tear gas only works for so long, and then crowds that he may want to return.
But look at that guy. Look at that CHP officer. He's got his gun drawn. That is, I believe, a less than lethal weapon, pointing it upwards towards those that are on the overpass. And another lob of both rock from above and a flashbang there. So the goal, of course, is to keep people off of the freeway because we saw that protesters had managed to shut down the traffic on the freeway. But it's disturbing, to say the least, that these kinds of things are occurring when you understand why there might be a lot of people in the city of Los Angeles. That is a big rock. Hard to see where it landed through the smoke. But a lot of these people are worried about their relatives, their family members, people who are even here legally or were even born here, but there have been instances where Citizens have been caught up in the dragnet once they go into a workplace and collect people. ICE agents would collect people. It's remarkable, Christine, how many rocks are on the freeway right now.
Yeah, definitely an area to avoid, the 101 freeway in the downtown area. Obviously, traffic moving in the other direction. Can you imagine, Susan, if you're in a vehicle, an unsuspecting vehicle perhaps, driving past this scene?
Yeah, meantime,
my goodness.
Take a look at these officers trying to get back into their patrol cars. That officer just got in there, but the whole time he like rushed in. He had another officer next to him with his gun pointed upwards in order to prevent somebody from lobbing a rock onto that officer. So he, looks like perhaps he was in a situation where the airbag blew, which is going to make it difficult to drive that vehicle. And that could be as simple as a rock just hit just right and blew the airbag. So it's a disturbing scene, to be sure. And look at that guy. Is just up there with a big rock poised, and he just rains it down upon the freeway, trying clearly to get an officer.
Which is, again, why they couldn't move those vehicles necessarily with a huge crowd like that. And nobody from law enforcement in the visual that we have there to disperse that crowd. So it's interesting to have watched how they made that happen from the ground there, from the freeway there, shooting up towards the crowd, knowing that that tear gas would float its way up. And it really did, Susan, to watch that in action there, it really did disperse a lot of people there, the bulk of the crowd.
Yeah, but meantime, we still see some people up on that overpass and people that are willing to take a big rock and lob it down onto those CHP officers that are just trying to do their job. Well, really, it's like a misplaced ire, isn't it? These are not ICE agents. They're not going into somebody's workplace and just collecting a bunch of people. That state senator that Gina had suggested there were as many as 80 people were arrested by ICE yesterday, which is double the number that I had heard yesterday when we were doing our coverage. And right now, are they truly illegal? Most likely. But are they truly criminal, like as in violent criminals? And that was the original assertion by ICE and Homeland Security, that the people that they wanted out of this country were those that had criminal records. Violent criminals is what they kept saying. All right, do we want to talk about Congresswoman Maxine Waters? Because she was here. She was in the downtown area earlier today.
Let us also note that LAPD is holding a news conference at 8 p.m. We will take that live to get the update from the LAPD. But yes, we have responses from our senators, from our police chief, from our mayor, and you have also Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
She was downtown this morning and talked about the large gathering of protesters and Friday's arrest of a union president.
I came down here to the detention center to see if I can find out what is happening with David Huerta. He is one of our leaders in organized labor, head of a local SEIU union. I don't know why they picked him up. I don't know what they're going to do to him. I don't want them to deport him. I think that he is being targeted, but our city is being targeted because we're a sanctuary city. Trump hates us. He does not like this city. He's trying to intimidate, and he sent the guns in here on us. The governor didn't know anything about the National Guard coming here. He did it on his own. We can't be intimidated. We've got to get the people out. We've got to get the elected officials out. We've got to resist him. I'm going back out into the communities where ICE was last night to make sure people know that their elected officials are standing with them. Thank you.
Woman Maxine Waters also tried to get into that federal detention center, the MDC, as they call it, the one that we've spent so much time looking at over the last couple of days. And she actually went up to a couple of the California National Guard's people, and she said, "What are you going to do? Are you going to shoot me? Then you better shoot straight." She's got a little sass. We love Maxine Waters for that.
She's been around for a long time. All right, so we have this from President Trump, who issued a warning to California elected officials. Let's go ahead and listen to that.
District of California could face federal charges if they stand in the way of the deportation. Something that will
You'll stand in the way of law and order, yeah, they will face charges.
There you go. President Trump responding to the idea that perhaps local and state officials could be held liable for how they handle this situation that we're looking at now. Skyfox is overhead. You see there, people are throwing fireworks now. So it's gone from rocks to fireworks and flashbangs. And right now, it's just a fraction of the number of patrol cars that were there earlier. But it's clear, Christine, you pointed out that the tear gas did its job and a lot of people moved out of the area. But look at that. They're starting to gather once again. And what is that? Oh, that guy has like a lawn leaf blower or something. But look, somebody's just lit something and then sending it down onto the vehicle there, CHP vehicle.
So I'm wondering if the vehicles that are remaining there are disabled in some fashion, that they can't move, because you had a bunch of CHP vehicles there that did take the opportunity to move when they were able to clear that overpass. Obviously, that only lasted for so long without backup there of law enforcement to continue to keep it clear. So I'm just wondering if those 3 vehicles are just so damaged in some fashion that they can't move.
Well, that's quite possible. I mean, it looked as if we saw an officer rush into the vehicle that we're looking at right there, and then you see there that curtain. That is an airbag, an impact airbag, perhaps on the side. Once an airbag goes off, then yes, it is a vehicle is disabled. Now, I don't know about law enforcement vehicles. Maybe they have ways to get around that, but my understanding is that once you have the airbag go off, then you can't drive that car anymore.
Well, it's more knowledge than I had on vehicles. Very good, Susan.
Must suggest my driving record. Just kidding.
So we're also looking at all the rocks and probably other objects and scooters there on the ground there on the freeway. And there you see some officers there. It does make you wonder how soon then they can open this freeway. Do all those rocks need to be cleared before they can allow cars to come through? Can you imagine driving over those kind of possibly glass bottles if they were dropping things that were glass?
I would imagine Caltrans would insist that there needs to be some kind of clearance of all the debris, including the vehicles and those scooters that it looks like, you know, we're all familiar with the Bird or Lime scooters. And so when you pick one up in downtown LA and you want to use it as a weapon, you could do it fairly easily. It's just, I find it really disturbing. I'm happy to see that the officers are under that overpass so that they are not at risk. But it was a little dodgy there for a while watching as...
Joining us on the phone right now, LA County Sheriff Robert Luna, thank you for joining.
Here southbound on the 101, just blocking out. Some of them are going back and forth. We heard some flashbangs there. Law enforcement trying to get this under control as much as they can. It has been very chaotic here, downtown LA.
As so many rocks were being lobbed over from that overpass. And we see them.
Oh, well, look at that.
People,
something on fire there?
Yeah, he's setting something afire. That's the second time I've seen him set something afire.
That could do some damage there if that catches
it's
like
hard to see. Is it an actual device or is it just a bunch of grass that he managed to... Oh, he's trying to possibly light the airbag or make the vehicle catch fire.
Which we've seen them set several Waymo vehicles on. Oh, okay. Well, look at there. You have law enforcement trying to put that out to prevent any further damage in that area. Not sure how successful they'll be with that crowd. They seem to be pretty relentless up there. Again, the fact that the other side of the freeway is open is amazing to me to see.
Me too.
You can see some people there on the ground there also on the left-hand side. Just goes to show you the chaotic nature of what's happening right now in our city. I'm sure if you're trying to get across town and into the valley or to downtown and you're going this direction where the cars are moving, you're happy to be able to get through. But what an incredible sight to witness as we see this chaos here in our city. The bulk of the protesters are not here. They have moved on from this location. They've been out all day with their protests against ICE and Homeland Security. This is a very, very small crowd here, still trying to make a difference. LAPD and the other law enforcement agencies are noting that they are keeping a watch on people who are doing things like this. And they are probably going to take note of people who are causing an extreme amount of damage.
Oh, Bill Essayli, the U.S. Attorney last night, he was quite clear and quite pointed by saying, you think you got away with something? Guess what? You did not. In this time period where everyone's posting, where everyone's got a camera in their hand and they're putting it out into the atmosphere, we will find it and we will identify you and we will arrest you. So he had no qualms about saying that you will be on the list. In fact, there was a man from yesterday's protest. They put out a $50,000 reward. They put out a wanted poster with his images from different angles. And apparently, we understand that person was indeed arrested. All right, we want to show you some more video that has come into the Fox 11 newsroom. This was about an hour or two ago, and it turns out that those pink chairs came from the Grand Park, I believe, or a park nearby. And then you notice that the sawhorses, or what would you call them? They're lightweight plastic type barricades or something.
Things.
Pardon?
Yeah, the white things that they're
the white things, yeah. We don't have the precise language to describe them. I mean, I think of them as like plastic sawhorses, you know, when you put two together and you...
After hours of standing off, this situation has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA. Whoa! You just shut the fuck up.
You okay?
I'm good.
Good morning. We begin with developing news out of Los Angeles, where tensions have reached boiling point. Tear gas and rubber.
News Nation's Mills Hayes live in Los Angeles on the ground right now. So, Mills, what is this scene like where you are?
Hey, Kelly, well, it's definitely still pretty chaotic. There are hundreds of people that are out here, and actually the protesters are mostly pushed this way to try and get closer to Los Angeles Police Department officers. We've already seen them use less lethal force. So what they've been doing is they've been using those 40-millimeter guns. They shoot rubber and foam bullets. We've seen multiple people be shot at because of that. We've also seen one woman who had an injury on her arm. She says that she believes it was from a baton, but I want to try to bring you guys a little bit closer. But of course, police are trying to push these protesters back. They've already labeled this as an unlawful assembly. We've actually heard one of the officers that from LAPD go around on the helicopter and on a PA system. He was telling people to disperse the area, and if they didn't, they would be arrested. Let's get a little bit closer to the action. Oh, you guys can hear that round go off. That is that 40-millimeter gun that's shooting that foam and rubber bullet, try and push those protesters back. But it's a very emotional atmosphere out here right now. Lots of people are angry, frustrated that there has been such a federal presence here in Los Angeles, specifically when we're talking about those ICE raids, as well as the National Guard being here. You can also see some of those, that you guys can... Okay, now they're starting to run a little bit, but that's because we just saw some of those projectiles fly into the air. Thankfully, none have hit us quite yet. We did get a little bit of tear gas in our eyes earlier, but you can actually see some of those rounds being fired off into the crowd in front of us there.
We can't confirm that, actually, just as you can see from our point of view. These vehicles are fully engulfed in flames right now, so it's hard to tell exactly what they are, but if they are, in fact, Waymo vehicles, they are powered by lithium-ion batteries. We just saw one of them just before you came to us with a small explosion, perhaps an indication of a little bit of thermal runaway. The firefighters refer to it as thermal runaway. These things can burn for a very long period of time. No indication of LA City Fire Department on the scene, of course, because of the situation being very unstable with the protesters and so forth down there. it's quite possible fire department may have to wait for force protection from LAPD or perhaps the CHP to come in there and have their backs, so to speak, while they try and get this fire under control. But so far, no indication of any fire. There have been no reports of any injuries at this location. Again, this at the corner of Arcadia and Los Angeles. Guys?
Yeah, lithium-ion fires, as you know, Roland, being a former firefighter, are extremely, extremely dangerous with temperatures that can reach up to 2,000 degrees in these cases. So even if they were there, these are very difficult fires to put out. Talk about the situation there on the ground in terms of numbers. You know, we know that you left for a moment to go refuel. Now that you're back, have you seen the crowds move? Have they diminished? What are you seeing from your vantage point?
From this vantage point, we see a very significant number of people still on this Los Angeles Street overpass. Everybody just seems to be watching the fires right now, that being the main focus of this area right now. I don't see a whole lot of law enforcement on Arcadia Street or on Los Angeles, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. It's just that there's just a massive number of people that are down there, a lot of vehicles and so forth. But the focus, again, being on these Waymo vehicles, which are just confirmed. These are, in fact, Waymo vehicles. Now, my pilot asked me on the way over here, could these have ignited themselves? Absolutely not. These had to have been started intentionally by some individuals. These just don't, drive around exploding. So again, and you just noted, these things can burn at very, very high temperatures and burn for an extremely long period of time.
Yeah, it's filled the entire area right there with thick black smoke. How many cars did you see on fire?
Yeah, we pulled over, and I saw there's at least 3 vehicles right there, and then there's potentially a 4th right there through the smoke. But all of them completely engulfed in flames. Again, no indication of LA City Fire Department or any LAPD so far. But again, these appear to be Waymo vehicles that are well engulfed in flames. No reports of any injuries or anything. People just standing and looking on. Traffic on Arcadia just kind of easing by. You got an LAPD ship that just flew into our shop there. They are still overhead and surveilling the situation and checking to see what in fact is going on. But as I pull out of the shot, maybe not as many people as there was earlier when prior to us going to get fuel, but still a significant number of people down there on Los Angeles Street, guys.
And there are a number, Roland, of firehouses in that area, so it really speaks